Listen, it's Wednesday here at the Happy Hour Bar. We got Keep It Open, Close It Out. We're going to kick off with everything going on with the Texans offense. Of course, who's eating good. We have a lot to get through right now. And, of course, we will end the show with our early line alert for Week 6, some of the points, totals, and spreads that we like early in the week. So let's jump right into it, fellas. Keep it open or close it out. And right now, a lot going on with the Texans offense as Nico Collins has been placed on IR. What once was a day-to-day injury and then a week-to-week injury is now at minimum a 4-week injury. And we heard from C.J. Stroud this week after the game that winning isn't easy. Winning is going to be even harder without his number one wide receiver. Take a listen.
I always say, man, winning in the NFL is not easy. So, of course, you're not looking at yourself like, dang, we're perfect. Clearly we're not, but, I mean, that's every week. There's always things you can clean up. Some things are more abrupt and more noticeable than others. But I feel like, when you can find a way to find a win, man, like that shows you how much of a resilient team you are. So, man, you learn with a dub, and that's the best thing that you can do.
Jay, before we get into Stroud himself, I mean, this is a massive hit for an offense that's already dealt with plenty of injury this season.
Yeah, definitely. Nico's been the best wide receiver in football, probably by margin. He was on his way to another huge day last week. I think in terms of the ripple effects of this, Stephon Diggs, you're probably starting anyway. Tank Dell, you probably weren't, but now I think you are. And then even like Dalton Schultz might become a little bit more viable. And I think they're going to lean into the run game when Joe Mixon comes back. We don't know when that's going to be, but I think the main thing is that it's stock up mainly for Dell and Schultz.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so, because we see this Texans offense. We know what it's capable of. We've seen C.J. Stroud back-to-back 300-plus yard games, so we know what the offense can do. What I would say is I wouldn't get so, locked in on this offense to where you're going to pick up another Texans receiver like a Robert Woods or John Mechie, those guys, because those guys behind Tank Dell and Nico Collins, those guys will kind of run by a committee and they'll get their reps like that. It'll be Stefon Diggs, Tank Dell, and then the rest.
So this leads us to the conversation with C.J. Stroud right now. The borderline startable quarterback in fantasy right now. Lawrence, the yards have been there recently. He's just been hurt by not throwing for a lot of touchdowns recently. This was a guy that was drafted to be a top 6 to 8 quarterback in fantasy. Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet. Do you ride this one out and keep it open? He's been under 16 fantasy points in 3 of his past 4 games.
Yeah, this one is tough to sit him, especially if you drafted him as such as a top 6 to 8 quarterback. But he's quarterback 14 this season on a points per game basis. He's got 120-point fantasy games so far. And then you look at this Patriots defense, right? They're struggling overall as a team, but the defense gives up the 8th fewest amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks. They've only allowed 4 touchdown passes this season, but look at some of the quarterbacks they played against. Joe Burrow, Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers threw 2 of those touchdowns against the Patriots. Then they played Brock Purdy. So the Patriots played all these quarterbacks and have only allowed 4 touchdown passes. I got them at quarterback 16 this week, so I'm going to close it out for this week. Let them get used to working without Nico Collins for a week, see how that goes, and then go from there.
Jay, in Matthew's rankings, he has him as QB 11. He's going to ride it out and keep it open. Lawrence has it as a close. What do you do with this one? Obviously, it's very dependent on what's available to you with Stroud, but you have to be a little disappointed considering where people did draft him.
Yeah, definitely. And even with Nico Collins having this amazing season, you would have thought, before the season, if I told you after 5 weeks that Nico Collins is the number 1 wide receiver in football, you would have set the over-under C.J. Stroud as over-under 4.5 in terms of where he's going to rank as a fantasy quarterback. And instead, he's QB 11, so that's disappointing. At the same time, I think more touchdowns will come. He is throwing the ball a ton for a lot of yards. It's a difficult matchup, a difficult issue against the Pats, and we'll see if Christian Gonzalez goes to Stefon Diggs. But it depends on your options. I'd probably, in a nutshell, keep it open, but I'd be starting, guys in that same area. I'd be starting Kirk Cousins over C.J. Stroud going up against the Panthers. Even Daniel Jones against the Bengals defense, probably that's a coin flip as well. So I certainly think he's right on the borderline of keeping it open or shutting it down on him.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.